You are struggling with modern dating, but time-tested Victorian secrets. No, not that one. This one. Transformed my approach from chaos to charm. Ready to learn? In this episode, the first part of a series on historical dating advice, we will cover what the 19th century Victorians got right about courtship and what they got hilariously wrong, and translate it into steps that work for you. So stay tuned.
This is Inside the Dating Mind.
Welcome! I am Dr. Axel Schumacher, and I have spent decades reverse engineering human connection, from the neuroscience of attraction to why some relationships feel effortlessly while others slowly die. And I'm here because I lived through the confusion myself. And I'm done watching people suffer through bad advice. So, with me is Aria, my AI co-host who helps us cut through the noise.
You're listening to someone who's actually done the work. Published scientist, built companies, coached hundreds of people, and turned dating research into something that actually works in real life.
This show takes the best science on attraction and connection, the stuff that's actually validated, and makes it useful. So no pick-up artist nonsense and no bitter ideology. Just what actually works when you want someone to choose you and keep choosing you. So please hit subscribe, because understanding this changes everything. Picture this. It's the 1890s, and Max O'Rell, a French intellectual, decides he's going to explain women to us. His opening move, admitting he knows absolutely nothing about them, which might be the most self-aware thing any man has ever said about the opposite sex. Now, Max O'Rell was the pen name of Léon Paul Blouet, who lived from 1847 to 1903. He was a French author and journalist, and his book, Her Royal Highness, Woman and His Majesty Cupid, published in 1901, are mostly reworked versions of his lectures, so containing many anecdotes and aphorisms on the subject of women, love, and marriage. So we will cover this book and the dating advice in it in this podcast. Perhaps we will uncover something valuable, or perhaps we will discover why certain ideas got left in the attic with the asbestos and lead paint. Yeah. So, for roughly 10,000 years since we first settled into agricultural communities, humans have been grappling with a particular problem. How do you choose a mate? And these aren't trivial questions. They are survival problems that every culture had to solve. And here's the remarkable part. They developed solutions, not perfect ones, not really, but workable systems, refined across generations. So, young people watched their elders, absorbed what succeeded and what ended in disaster, and that knowledge accumulated like sediment. So, for literally thousands of years, humans had to figure out this whole dating and marriage thing without Reddit threads or pop psychology and without even Jordan Peterson. And somehow they fell in love, built lasting relationships, and accumulated genuine insight about this whole messy dating business.
And they didn't just pass it down through awkward conversations at the dinner table. They wrote it down. That's literally why books exist. To preserve the hard-fought lessons of one generation so the next doesn't have to learn everything from scratch. To capture what works, what fails, what makes us human. It's cultural memory made permanent.
And that's why I have spent years reading over 1,000 books on courtship and relationships, tracking how this advice evolved across centuries and cultures. Well, that's right. 1,000 books, even more, all about dating. So my friends actually think I'm insane, and they're probably right. But here's what blows my mind. We threw out almost all of that accumulated wisdom, only because we had suddenly invented the birth control pill and women could have credit cards. So basically we could safely ignore everything humans had learned about pair bonding for the precious 10,000 years. So we decided that because we are modern and enlightened, everything our forefathers knew must be outdated. Their advice, irrelevant, and their observations about what makes attraction last beyond the first 6 months, probably problematic and definitely toxic. So their hard-won insights about attraction, commitment, and making relationships actually work, we'll just wing it with TikTok experts explaining the world to us. And look where that got us. More connected than ever and more alone than ever. Infinite options, zero idea how to choose, all the freedom in the world, and we are paralyzed by it. So maybe, just maybe, there is something worth excavating. So Max O'Rell captured some of the forgotten wisdom. O'Rell was writing in 1901 at a particular inflection point in Western courtship. The Victorian era's rigid formality was beginning to crack, so young people were gaining slightly more autonomy in choosing partners, and yet they still operated within established social frameworks. Chaperone visits, formal introductions, explicit courtship rituals that signaled intent. It was a world where dating had structure, where the steps from introduction to engagement followed a recognizable pattern that both parties understood. So O'Rell observed this system in operation across multiple countries, watching what worked and what produced misery, and he preserved those observations. And in our accelerated, surface-level, algorithm-driven mating environment, that preserved knowledge might contain something we have forgotten we needed. So let's dive into the first chapter and see if this dead French guy can teach us anything about not dying alone. So, Chapter 1, The Eternal Feminine. Now, that's something I know a lot about. I am writing currently the most comprehensive book on dating ever. And the chapter about femininity is one of the longest. So let's see what the good man had to advise us. O'Rell starts his book with an essay on women in general. So, the Frenchman argues women are fundamentally unknowable. They are contradictory, ever-changing, impossible to pin down. But on the other hand, that's probably why we love them so much. Here's what he had to say.
This characteristic of woman is probably, after all, what makes her ever so interesting to us. Nothing is more different from a woman than another woman. Nothing is more different from a woman than that very woman herself. The very moment we think we know her, she slips through our fingers and stands in front of us, an absolute stranger. And so it should be.
My verdict? Yes. It's this profound mystery that draws us in like moths to a flame. We men think we can grasp her, pin her down like a butterfly in a collection. But the moment we believe we have understood, she transforms, slips away, revealing layers upon layers of beauty and enigma. And so it should be. For it is this very unpredictability, this ebb and flow of the feminine spirit that ignites our obsession, our lifelong adventure. It's what makes her rare, not just hot, but truly beautiful. A mystery that speaks to our imagination and not merely our impulses. We don't conquer this, we celebrate it. If women were simple and static, I think we would get bored and wander off to more stimulating company. Eternal feminine that O'Rell describes. What can we learn from it? This unpredictability, this layered complexity, it's what actually sustains long-term interest. It's what separates a person you want to sleep with from a person you want to wake up next to for the next 40 years. If you could fully map another human being, think about it, predict every response, understand every motivation, well, it's great. Now you're in a relationship with a very sophisticated chatbot. I know some people like that, but anyway. The mystery isn't some cosmic frustration designed to drive you insane. No. Although certainly it can, but it's the entire point. And here is why most men completely misunderstand the game. They approach women like there's a cheat code, some sequence of behaviors that unlocks access. But the men who do well with women aren't the ones trying to crack some code. They are the ones who stay curious, who pay attention, who understand that people, women included, are dynamic, not static. They are not trying to conquer or control. They are just present, engaged, genuinely interested in who this person is and who's she becoming. So, chapter 2. Women's influence for good and evil. Oh, this is a good one. Now, in his second chapter, O'Rell says woman has always been the greatest power for good and evil the world has known. Wow. Now that's quite a statement, and translated from the 19th century French, politeness it essentially means we love women, but also please stop ruining everything. And look, he's not entirely wrong from a historical pattern recognition standpoint. Helen of Troy's face allegedly launched 1,000 ships and a decade-long war, though, let's be honest, The man who decided warfare was an appropriate response to a marriage dispute probably deserves some blame too. A woman caused also the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre, killing 20,000 Frenchmen. French courtesans supposedly bankrupted so many men that crime rates spiked. So the historical record is full of men doing spectacularly stupid things and then pointing at women and going, "She made me do it." Well, but here's the other side. I argue women civilize us. Mothers shape our character, our empathy, our ability to function in society. So without women, we are basically well-dressed barbarians who grunt at each other and think Axe body spray counts as hygiene. Yes, we can build bridges and write beautiful symphonies. And let's be honest, half of those bridges and most of those symphonies were built to impress women in the first place. But left to our own devices, we can't hold a decent conversation about feelings or remember that towels need washing. For evidence, O'Rell reaches all the way back to the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve, the original dysfunctional couple. And according to O'Rell, our boy Adam absolutely blew it. Well, not the apple part. The part where he immediately threw Eve under the bus when this god guy showed up asking questions.
Axel, there were no buses back then.
Area. That's an idiom, a figure of speech. It means he blamed her, betrayed her, basically said she did it to save his own ass.
I see. Noted. Saving an ass by sacrificing a partner. This appears to be a recurring theme in human mating behavior.
Yeah, it does. Welcome to thousands of years of relationship patterns. Anyway, O'Rell was genuinely disgusted with Adam. He expected Adam and Eve both take responsibility. They shield each other, they beg to be punished together and walk into exile hand in hand. So, meanwhile, biblical Adam's defense strategy is, the woman you gave me made me do it, which is possibly the worst boyfriend move in literally history. To quote O'Rell,
"If I had been Adam, I would have stuck to Eve through thick and thin. To save, even only to shield a woman I loved, I would tell lies by the yard and by the hour."
O'Rell is basically saying, loyalty matters more than truth when someone you love is on the line, which is either deeply romantic or a confession to future perjury, depending on your perspective.
So does any of this hold up?
Well, I think O'Rell accidentally identified something real about evolutionary psychology and parental investment. He says mothers shape who men become, and modern developmental psychology backs this up, partly. Like early attachment patterns with primary caregivers, historically mothers, do predict relationship styles, emotional regulation, and even moral development later in life, at least to some degree. And a bit about French men committing crimes to fund women's expensive tastes. That sounds about to be true, as we can see in the original old Dürer painting. Now, this Adam and Eve thing is actually more interesting than it sounds. I mean, decades of research on couples shows something consistent. Couples who take mutual responsibility and solve problems together stay together. Couples who play the play game, they're toast. And what Adam did, pointing at Eve, the second God asked a question, that's textbook blame shifting. Relationship researchers literally call this one of the 4 horsemen of relationship death. So biblical Adam was doomed from day one. But here's where it gets tricky. Lying for someone to protect them from an outside threat, that can actually strengthen your bond. You're a team against the world. But lying to your partner, that's poison. Trust is the entire foundation of long-term relationships. You blow that, you are done. O'Rell is talking about the first kind, so lying to protect her from others. But the distinction matters, because most people screw this up and think any lying is loyalty. It's not. Okay. Chapter 3. Maxims for the man in love. All right. We have arrived at O'Rell's practical dating manual, and honestly, that might be the most useful chapter in the entire book. Because while he's wrapped it in Victorian propriety and absurd humor, what he's really talking about is something every modern dating coach obsesses over: how to kill attraction without even trying. O'Rell's thesis is simple. Romance is fragile and nothing murders it faster than reality. His advice?
Never let a woman see you with a cold, asleep with your mouth open, without a collar, or, God forbid, cleaning your teeth with your tongue after dinner.
He's dead serious about the last one, citing Madame Bovary, who cheated on her husband specifically because of his post-meal tongue gymnastics. Okay, so he warns never to kiss a woman while having a cold. He tells the story of a couple eloping deeply in love, running away together, who arrive at their hotel, fall into each other's arms, and then the guy sneezes violently, repeatedly, and the woman immediately comes to her senses, packs her bags, and goes back home. All because of a sneeze. That's not a Victorian prudery. It's social neuroscience. So desire collapses the moment we associate someone with illness. The brain's disgust circuit, designed to keep us from infection, instantly overrides passion. Sneezing isn't just unsexy, it's evolutionary sabotage. I mean, he's not wrong. That's objectively unsexy.
Here's the thing. O'Rell is accidentally describing what modern psychology calls arousal incongruity. When incompatible emotional states collide, the stronger one wins. Romance requires a specific psychological state: anticipation, idealization, mystery, sexual tension. Introduce disgust, humor, or mundane reality, and that state collapses instantly.
Yes. Research on sexual desire shows it's incredible context dependent. Desire lives in the gap between the known and the unknown, like the familiar and the mysterious. This is why long-term couples struggle with maintenance desire. Once you have seen someone sick, sleeping, arguing about whose turn it is to take out the trash, maintaining erotic tension really requires genuine effort. But here is what O'Rell misses. You can't build a sustainable relationship on mystery and performance alone. Eventually, you are going to sneeze. Yeah, you are going to get food poisoning. You're going to wake up with terrible breath and yesterday's mascara smudged under your eyes. You can't hide your humanity forever. And honestly, you shouldn't have to. The relationships that actually last, the ones that make it past the 5-year mark without someone fleeing to a different continent, they combine erotic polarity with genuine intimacy. You need to be both mysterious and known, both desirable and real. The trick is never letting your partner see you do normal human things. It's building what we call enough attraction capital. That when you inevitably do those things, because you will, it doesn't detonate the entire relationship. And here's your takeaway. O'Rell is right that attraction is fragile. Context matters enormously. The way someone sees you can shift based on absurdly small details. But he's advocating for an exhausting level of performance that's impossible to maintain long term. You will crack. Everyone does. So the real skill isn't hiding all your flaws. It's building a relationship strong enough that your flaws don't become deal breakers. Find someone who still wants to sleep with you after they have seen you with the flu. That's the goal. Though seriously, maybe don't clean your teeth with your tongue in the public. Some advice is timeless. Chapter 4. Advice to the man who wants to marry. Let's talk about marriage. And O'Rell has opinions, strong ones. He begins with the line,
"When you're dead, it's for a long time. But when you're married, it's forever."
O'Rell's core argument is this: marry for compatibility, not money or beauty. Beauty fades, ugliness stays, and money complicates things. What matters is finding someone whose physical, moral, and intellectual qualities align perfectly with your ideals. Still, O'Rell was onto something when he said beauty shouldn't be the deciding factor. Attraction fades, behavior compounds. So decades of research on marital satisfaction shows that similarity in values, interests, and life goals predict relationship success far better than physical attraction or socioeconomic status. So, shared activities and aligned priorities matter enormously for long-term satisfaction. I mean, you can Botox your forehead, but not your personality. And then he gets specific about timing. Women, he says, should marry young, so their husbands can enjoy all the different phases of her beauty. Men should wait until 30 and follow this formula.
A man should marry a woman half his age plus 7. Try it at whatever age you like, and you will find it works very well.
That's not just O'Rell being clever. That formula actually existed already in Victorian culture and somehow survived into modern dating discourse. But does it hold up? Okay. Again, I did a study on this topic, which I will publish in my book, but let me get you a glimpse into it. Let's start with the age gap formula because it's oddly persistent. The half your age plus 7 rule is still cited today as the minimum socially acceptable age difference. People actually follow this rule. Kind of. Researchers from OkCupid analyzed millions of dating messages and found that men roughly follow the lower limit when setting their age preferences. So, where are people sending their messages on dating apps? In this figure, there is shown what is called a heat map that displays the messaging concentrations for each gender by age. The greenest areas represent the ages of people where most messages are sent to on the dating app OkCupid. And I guess other dating apps will be very similar. Here the black dotted diagonal is the age parity line, where the male and female years would be roughly equal, showing the asymmetry in the messaging behavior when it comes to age. The red areas have little to no messages. So, as men get older, their message more and more younger women relatively to their own age. Women, on the other hand, prefer older men, but their messaging behavior centers around their own age when they become older. A 40-year-old man typically sets his range from 26 to 44. 14 years younger, only 4 years older. This asymmetry is quite striking, and it gets worse with age. The older men get, the younger they skew their preferences while barely budging on the upper limit. But here's the thing. What men say they want and what they actually do are two different things. The OkCupid data showed that men spend massive amounts of time messaging women even younger than their stated minimum. So a 40-year-old man messages 20-year-olds just as often as women of his own age. So the social norm says, don't be creepy, but biology apparently says, whatever, try anyway. The numbers are brutal for older women. So for every 100 men interested in a 20-year-old woman, only 9 are looking for a 39-year-old. That's an 11-to-1 ratio. Whew, ouch.
Women's preferences, meanwhile, stay remarkably stable. They prefer men around their own age, maybe a few years younger, up to about 10 years older, and this pattern holds across their entire lives. Well, mostly. The data shows something fascinating. Women suddenly widen their age range at 20, again at 29, and again at 39. Each new decade, they become more open to older men, probably because the pool of available men their age shrinks dramatically as the best prospects partner off.
Studies from the US, Germany, the Netherlands, even a small Philippine island called Poro all show the same pattern. So men prefer younger women relative to their own age. Women prefer men close to their own age. So this consistency across cultures suggests evolutionary patterns, not just social conditioning. But here is where the rule breaks down. After menopause, well, the half your age plus 7 formula assumes fertility matters. And for men seeking younger women, it does, even when they claim they don't want children. So the upper limit of the rule, the maximum age you should date, doesn't reflect reality for men at all. It overestimates how acceptable society finds older women dating younger men. So, I came up with a revised upper limit. Take your age, multiply by 2, subtract 14. So, a 35-year-old woman could date someone as old as 56 without crossing into socially awkward territory. And when it comes to sexual fantasies, forget the rule entirely. Studies show even 90-year-old men consider it acceptable to fantasize about women in their early 20s. Well, that's well into what researchers call the threshold of creepiness. Good thing fantasies aren't subject to public scrutiny. But the harsh reality, I call it the genie in the lamp paradox. You know the story. So, Aladdin rubs a lamp, Genie appears, grants 3 wishes. But the origin is darker. The earliest version comes from the 7th century French author Charles Perrault, who invented the fairy tale genre. A poor woodcutter gets 3 wishes from a spirit, immediately wastes them on impulsive garbage. That's what most young people do on Temu or Shein, and ends up exactly as miserable as before. Later, Arabian Nights added the lamp and the merit. The most powerful type of genie, cosmic powers, you know the whole deal. And the moral. Be careful what you wish for. So imagine a modern couple. Let's call them Romeo and Juliet. Each find this magical lamp. The genie appears and offers them 1 wish. Both say the same thing. I want to find my perfect partner. Easy, the genie says, pulling out an iPad. Modern genies use apps, obviously. Just enter your age and preferences. So Juliet goes first. She's 32 years, ready to settle down, have kids, and build a life. She wants someone at her stage. So she sets her filter, 30 to 38 years old. Perfectly reasonable. Romeo's turn. He's 40, successful, finally ready for love. So he sets his filter, 20 to 29 years. The genie stares at the screen, then at them, then back at the screen. And here's the problem. Despite unlimited cosmic powers, the ability to reshape reality itself, the genie is stuck. Their range don't overlap at all. There's no mathematical solution. And this is what happens on dating apps every day. If Romeo were 32, he would be in Juliet's range. And if Juliet were 27, she would be in Romeo's. But right now, impossible. So, 2 people desperately seeking love, standing in front of a genie who could grant any wish in the universe, and their wishes cannot both be fulfilled. Not because of magic, because of math and biology. So the genie sighs, looks at them with exhausted pity and says, "Oh, Romeo, Romeo, I am history. So he vanishes back into his lamp, leaving them both swiping endlessly, two ships passing in the night, never finding what they are looking for. And the moral? Be careful what you wish for. And reset your age preferences before you waste a perfectly good genie. Okay. You know what strikes me after diving into O'Rell's world? We didn't just lose outdated rules when we abandoned the past. We lost something precious. We lost the art of courtship, the slow burn, the delicious tension of not knowing everything immediately. So modern dating stripped away the poetry and left us with efficiency. Swipe, match, meet, access, next. It's functional, it's fast, and it's killing the magic. But here's the good news. We can bring it back. Not the corsets and chaperones. The beauty, the attention, the presence. The way you look at someone like they're a mystery worth solving, not a profile worth optimizing. Because here's what the Victorians understood that we forgot. Attraction isn't just chemistry. It's art. It's how you hold someone's gaze at a heartbeat longer. How you ask a question that invites a story and not a resume. How you make someone feel like the most fascinating person in the room. Not because you're performing, but because you are genuinely curious about who they are. So this week, try something radical. Slow down. Make eye contact. Offer one specific compliment. Not about their body, but about their mind, their passion, the way they light up when they talk about something they love. Flirt like it's a dance, not a transaction. Be present like presence is a gift, because it is.
Here's what Victorians had that we don't. Scarcity of attention. When you could only see someone twice a week chaperoned, every moment mattered. Now we have infinite access and zero impact. Text less. See them more. Presence compounds. Availability dilutes.
Exactly. Build your attraction capital with the basics. Honesty, playfulness, and a dash of mystery that isn't performative. Just you being fully present. So, that's it for today, and as usual, I have put the show notes in the description along with your homework. Go to the link and download it. It's free. Yeah, it is. And if you did your homework and you are still stuck, reach out and apply for one-to-one coaching via the link below. I will diagnose the bottleneck and fix it. So, I am Dr. Axel Schumacher. This was Inside the Dating Mind. So, merci for listening. If this gave you hope or laugh, follow and share it with someone who's ready to retire their genie and trial real life. So drop a comment and tell me, what's your current age filter set on dating apps? Be honest. And after hearing the data, are you willing to adjust it?
Be kind. Be curious. And hydrate.
So, see you next time.
This is Inside the Dating Mind.
And you know what's coming. Click Close the player, get a jacket and go out. There's the door. Or there. Find a French cafe, a park bench, a book aisle, anywhere humans gather. Practice a little savoir flirt, the French art of flirting. So,